Marissa, and welcome to Ace Chat. Today we are going to be talking about a very serious issue. And I mean, we talk about serious stuff a lot, but normally I try to add some levity, some laughter. I'm sure I'll still do that, but I do want it to be stated just in the beginning. Again, serious topic. We're going to be talking about sexual assault, caedsexuality, caedsexuality. So if these are things that are uncomfortable to you, that are upsetting, just wanted to give that warning. So why am I bringing this up today? I'm sure it seems a little strange just because this is like a channel about asexuality. Like, what does this have to do with sexual assault? So this is like a twofold response. First of all, it is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And the theme of this year, because every year they have a different theme, is to make safe spaces online. We've previously talked about how the ACE community has a lot of places online, has actually a few subreddits, has the AVEN forums, bunch of Instagram accounts, bunch of TikToks. I'd say the majority of these are inclusive, are accepting, are safe. But there are a few ways in which I feel like the community can be a bit more open, a bit more supportive. And I understand the reasons why it's not, which I'm going to get into. But that's why I wanted to have this talk, because I wanted to get into what caedsexuality or caedsexuality is, how it's part of the ACE spectrum, and why some people are hesitant to accept it as part of the ACE spectrum. So to start off, caedsexuality or caedsexuality, I've heard it pronounced like a million ways. Well, no, I've heard it pronounced like 2 ways. So if I'm saying it incorrectly, please let me know down below. But essentially what these labels mean are that you used to identify as allo, and then due to some traumatic event, it could have been sexual trauma, but not necessarily, but just some traumatic event, you now identify as asexual. In that regard, this label is a micro-label within asexuality. Very similar to how phrasexual or demisexual, we'll talk more about those in other videos, how those are micro-labels. So it's still part of the ACE spectrum, but kind of has its own unique meaning. And I want to state from the start my thoughts on caedsexuality, and then go into why other people have different thoughts. To me, if the label caedsexual or caedsexual makes you feel better, feels right, I see absolutely no reason not to use it. I think it can help people understand what happened to them, help people deal with it, help them move on from it. It can just be a good thing for them to use. However, there is a decent amount of pushback in the ACE community, and it's not without reason, but it's not with reason that is fair to the people who use this label. The main reason you'll see pushback in the ACE community when someone says I'm caedsexual or I'm caedsexual is because the stereotypes. There's this assumption that if you are ACE, it's because something happened to you, right? And usually the something means trauma, usually it means sexual trauma. Not all ACE people have gone through trauma. There are plenty of ACE people who just born ACE, always identified as ACE, or they identified as something else, and along the way were like, actually this label feels better, it fits better. But that doesn't mean that no one in the ACE community has experienced trauma, and it doesn't mean that their experience is less valid. And let me explain. In response to gatekeeping, a lot of ACE people have become gatekeepers. Because there are a lot of allosexuals who don't believe that asexuality is real, who think it is a mental condition, think it is a response to trauma, think XYZ. And they use these beliefs to discredit the community as a whole, and especially to discredit the people where that is true. Because you can still identify with this label, still be part of this community, still have this be true of you and your experiences, if you have gone through trauma, if it is related to mental illness or a hormone thing or etc. Now, why do some people push back against that? Why do some ACE people push back against that? Because if it's a result of trauma or a hormone condition or mental illness, people will tell you it can be fixed. When you are part of the ACE community, hearing that is terrifying because you're already fighting to be seen and to be validated. So for someone to bring up, well, you know, have you seen a doctor? Have you seen a therapist? It can really shake you, especially when your answer is yes. And it's like, well, one, but they couldn't do anything. And two, I wouldn't want them to. When people make this argument that your asexuality can be fixed, they are seeing it inherently as a negative. They are seeing it as something that you would want fixed, something that who in their right mind wouldn't want to experience sexual attraction. So I do get it. I do completely get it that if you are told over and over again, if your experience is invalidated, right? If you're told, well, you're only this way because XYZ happened, you're going to say, well, actually, XYZ is not even part of the community, so haha there. And then it becomes so complicated because it is. And when I say it, I mean these experiences, right? I mean the fact that you can start identifying as ace later in life. I know we all love Lady Gaga. I know we all love Born This Way. But it's actually not that simple. Sexuality is a spectrum. Sexuality is fluid. Sexuality can change. It is partially about genetics. It is partially about external factors. And again, I understand why that's not really popular to say either, because then you're going to get all the people going after gay people or bi people saying, well, you can be fixed, right? So that's the thing. There are different reasons why people start using these labels. There are different experiences that lead them to no longer experience sexual attraction, or reasons why they never did in the first place. And we can't discredit those. We can't discount those, because the second we do, we're the gatekeepers. We're the ones who are making these arbitrary rules of what asexuality looks like, what it doesn't, when really it should be up to the person to define for themselves. And that's the rhetoric you see in the community, right? Like, I can't tell you if you are ace or not, it's up to you. Unless, you know, it's you're dealing with trauma, then nah. What, like what? That is so not fair. That's not, ugh. Especially when you consider, like, who among us can say how we came to be the way we are step by step? Think about the millions of things that happen to you on a daily basis. If any single one of those didn't happen, your life path, your trajectory could go completely different. So does that mean the way you are and what you've gone through and how you identify are all invalid because they could have gone a different way? Because they started off a different way? Explain it to me. I know in some ways I'm oversimplifying this, but I also don't think I fully am. Like, I'm oversimplifying it because I'm sure there's things I haven't brought up, but I think the end answer here of accepting caedsexuality, people who identify as caedsexual, is the right answer. Having said that, I do want to make it clear that there is a difference between no longer experiencing sexual attraction or not experiencing a lot of it after trauma and feeling like, oh, caedsexual, asexual, these labels are helping me, this makes sense, I want to identify this way, and having this experience where you no longer feel sexual attraction and feel distressed by it. If you feel distressed by it, absolutely it's something to talk to with a therapist, with a doctor, because these labels should be helping you. If they are not helping you, then they're not serving their intended purpose. I mean, if I woke up tomorrow, like I said, and I suddenly wanted to jump into bed with people, I'd be disturbed. I'd be like, whoa, no thank you, help. let's not. And in that sense, I would want help with going back to how I identified, what I did and did not experience before in terms of sexual attraction. So yes, again, just sentence summary there. Caedsexual are labels meant to help you, meant to make it clearer for you to identify. They're meant to be a positive after something like this has happened, to make you feel more empowered, etc. It should be true to you. If it is not, if you are uncomfortable with it, that's when trying to get help makes sense. The same way I would try to get help if I woke up and was allo and was like, no.
On that note, I keep saying how this label can help by providing community, by providing support and healing, and by providing resources. So I wanted to end this video with a few resources, which I am showing above and also linking below. I know that this was a difficult topic, but I also think it is an important one. As someone who has experienced sexual assault, though I do not personally identify as caedsexual, I still think this is something that we need to discuss more, because this is something, this label is something that can benefit so many people. So to not allow them to have it just seems like we are doing the community a disservice. We will be covering this topic in more detail since I don't see it discussed often, and we will be covering related topics, hopefully getting some psychologists on to also discuss some other people in the know about trauma. And obviously we're going to talk about other ACE things going forward. So hopefully these resources are helpful. Hopefully this conversation has been helpful. And thanks for being part of the chat.